Hello, my name is Richard Innes, and I'm the Education Analyst for the Bluegrass Institute for Public Policy Solutions. Since 1992, Kentucky's teachers have had to cope with excessively restrictive rules about how they are allowed to teach writing. As a consequence, it was recently reported to the Kentucky Department of Education's Assessment and Accountability Task Force that 69% of Kentucky's teachers now want writing portfolios to be removed from the CATS assessment program. Proponents of writing portfolios in assessment have bitterly resisted the call to remove portfolios from CATS. Proponents argue that removing portfolios from CATS will lead to teachers not bothering to teach writing. In addition, portfolio proponents say that teachers are incorrect to complain that writing instruction is hampered by rules that must be followed to avoid the appearance of cheating. Which leads us to a key question. Do the rules required to prevent cheating on the CATS with portfolios interfere with good writing instruction? To help answer that question, this YouTube examines some of the Kentucky Department of Education's actual writing materials for teachers. These tell what can and cannot be done during writing instruction. We will see that the CATS writing portfolio rules are awkward and actually create a double guessing game both for teachers who have to figure out what they can and cannot do, and for students who have to try to decode often cryptic comments which are all teachers are allowed to make under the burdensome writing portfolio rules. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at a key legal requirement that teachers must follow in grading writing portfolios. This seemingly self-contradictory legal requirement comes from the Kentucky Administrative Regulations on Portfolios. It says, a teacher or other conferencing partner may indicate the type and position of errors, for example, circle errors, highlight mistakes, put check marks in margins of lines where errors occur, on student writing. However, a teacher and other conferencing partner shall not correct errors on papers that might be included in the accountability portfolio. This obviously creates a major interpretation hurdle for our teachers. What exactly constitutes an acceptable indication of an error that isn't an illegal correction? To answer that question, let's take a short look at some examples of acceptable corrections according to a teacher training video on writing created by the Kentucky Department of Education. First, here is an example of how a punctuation error must be treated under the awkward CATS rules. The error can only be circled in the text. In this case, it's an incorrectly used comma. And then a cryptic note or symbol can be placed in the margin, in this case a P for punctuation, which we have circled in red. It's worth noting that while only one error involving a single comma is actually identified to the student here, there are multiple punctuation errors in this same sentence. For example, the words by Touchstone Pictures are parenthetical and need to be offset by commas as well. That will help make it clear to the reader that the verb is applies to the word asteroid rather than to Touchstone Pictures. As the student wrote this, it looks like Touchstone Pictures is being labeled as a global killer, something I'll bet the movie company would not appreciate. But the restrictive CATS rules don't allow the teacher to explain in detail how punctuation can help clear up such misinterpretations. Here is another example of limited information involving the same sentence. This comment advises the student to read this awkwardly worded sentence out loud. That is a good technique, but it probably won't help the student much with his punctuation errors. In addition, will the student see that this could be two sentences? For example, this one sentence could be broken up into two sentences as, well, this type of asteroid has been featured in the movie Armageddon by Touchstone Pictures. This type of asteroid is called the global killer. Or, this also could be kept as one sentence such as, well, this type of asteroid has been featured in the movie Armageddon by Touchstone Pictures and is called the global killer. How is the student supposed to learn about those alternate possible wordings? Magic? The awkward and restrictive rules for writing portfolios don't let a teacher offer such detailed instruction and guidance, as that would be considered cheating. Thus, the teacher misses out on some great opportunities to really help the student explore alternate ways of expression in the English language. The real power of the portfolio process has been subverted by rules required to prevent the appearance of cheating on cats. Here's another guessing game for the student. There are all sorts of agreement errors in the paper which the teacher has marked only with an asterisk and a single vague comment that says agreement errors. These errors involve subject-verb issues and other noun-pronoun problems. Does this short asterisk comment really give the student any clues at all about the things that are wrong? Let's look at some of those. Here's one agreement error example, a subject-verb error, no scientists say, which mixes the singular form of the word scientist with the plural form of the verb to say. But this student's paper has many such subject-verb agreement errors. Does a vague asterisk note saying agreement error really help the student? Does this cryptic correction help instruct what agreement means? This is a different sort of agreement error tagged with the same asterisk note involving the wording of another asteroids called. The verb called can work for either a singular or a plural subject, so this isn't a subject-verb error, but the rest of the wording in the sentence requires the use of the singular form of the word asteroid because of the singular form of the word another. Is there really anything more than a cryptic clue here to instruct the student about what is wrong? Is the simple comment, agreement error, enough to tell the student that there are two types of agreement errors and both types of errors are in his paper? Again, there isn't much instruction going on with this portfolio piece, although there could be a great deal of instructional opportunities if the rules from CATS weren't in the way. Clearly, this one cryptic note agreement error attached to all the asterisk items isn't nearly enough to instruct a student about all the different kinds of agreement errors in this paper. This teacher has a lot to teach this student, but that will have to be done in a student-teacher conference because it simply isn't legal to go into such detail on this portfolio-bound writing sample. Will the teacher and the student have time to have that conference? Is this an efficient use of both student and teacher time? Speaking of conferencing, CATS even imposes burdensome rules for that. This Kentucky administrative regulation strictly limits the amount of material that can be covered in one conference. It says a teacher and other conferencing partner shall limit a conference's focus to one or two areas of need, addressing patterns of errors or problems that occur frequently in an individual student's writing. While we didn't cover all of them, the Department of Education's instructional video states that this student's paper has a total of 6 different problems. These involve content, documentation, punctuation, word agreement, capitalization, and tone. Which 2 items will the teacher cover in the first conference? What will have to wait? Will the teacher really have time for 3 separate conferences with this student? Will the student put up with all that delay? Or will our teacher be put in the moral dilemma of having to violate this ridiculous regulation in order to do the best thing for the student? This is the sort of nonsense that our teachers are having to cope with because of arcane CATS rules designed to prevent cheating on portfolios. Here is yet another restrictive regulatory requirement for writing portfolios. This restriction basically makes it illegal for teachers to do things like actually entering the proper punctuation in the proper place on a student's paper, or to provide alternate wording of sentences such as we discussed earlier. Now I want you to ask yourself something. If you were taught to write with all of the restrictions we've talked about here, would you have ever learned how? You see, writing portfolios can be a great way to teach writing, but their power is being smothered by the awkward rules from the CATS accountability program. If you agree, please let your legislator know, and thanks for watching.